Hi everybody, in this video we're going to learn how to calculate the quadratic regression. So let's get into it. The table below shows the profit P of X in dollars from selling X items. So here we're given a table. We want to go ahead into decimals and we're going to go to the plus sign and we're going to add the table. I'm going to move this down and you're simply going to enter the values into the table. So you start with the number 1 and you tab over to type in the y coordinate. All right, so go ahead and finish typing in the values. Now, after you finish typing in the values, just go ahead and double check to make sure you typed everything in correctly into the table before we go ahead and get started. If you notice, you haven't seen any of our points yet. So again, look at our y values. They're pretty high. We're at 6. So in order to see that, we need to adjust our window, our visible window, to be able to see it. So my lowest y value is negative 418. Therefore, I'm going to make my lowest y value negative 500. My highest y value is at 116. So I'm going to make it at least, say, 200. All right. Now let's look at my domain. My values go from 1 to 14. My domain is only going from negative 10 to positive 10. So I'm going to increase my domain to accommodate that 14 and make it 20. And voila, we now have our quadratic. I can see all of the points from the table that were graphed earlier. So now we're ready to go for our quadratic regression line. We're going to find a quadratic regression line in standard form. So we're going to type in y, and then the tilde is on the left hand side of your keyboard above the tab. Okay, so show you how it looks. There goes the tilde. Now, before I go any further, let me go ahead and explain why this is throwing an error. Right now, this is throwing an error because I'm not using the correct variable. I have to use the variable that's shown here and here when I'm writing this. So I need to type in y sub 1. So I'm going to go to the y and I'm going to type the number 1 in. And it drops down as a subscript. I didn't do that. It just does it on its own. So y sub 1 is approximately, so we're looking for a quadratic regression line. A quadratic regression line is a statistical model of the data points that we have. We're saying it describes the relationship between the independent and the dependent variables. So we're looking at how good this relationship might be through this quadratic model that we're about to define here. Again, we're typing this in standard form. So it's going to be a x sub 1 plus, well, remember to square it. Don't forget to square. Plus b x sub 1 plus c. And in doing so, Desmos has given us our quadratic regression line. If you notice, it kind of hits through all the points. So sometimes regression lines will not hit through all the points. Remember, it's a description of the modeled behavior. So in our situation, we have A is equal to negative 4.9, B is equal to 34.7, and C is equal to 56. So we can write our equation below here. We say y is equal to negative 4.9 x squared plus, and we want to write the equation because we have to use this to solve it, plus 34x, right, plus 56. That allows us to go ahead and play with this function. So after we write our answer here, we are ready to go to the next problem because it says use your calculator to do a quadratic regression, express the profit as a function. So I have my function here. Using your quadratic regression, estimate the profit from selling 12 items. Only 12 items. Well, which value do they give us? Did they give me X or did they give me P? Remember, P stood for profit. So that means X stands for items. So if I take this function and evaluate it for 12, okay, I can get the answer. So everywhere I see an X, I'm going to go ahead and plug in a number 12 because they want to know what is the profit when selling 12 items. And there goes our profit. Our profit is negative 233 and 20 $233.20. Okay, so next, it actually rounds to the two decimal places. In this case, we only have one here. So you would just put 20 for the two decimal places there. Another way to get this answer is here's your graph. I need to know what 12 is. So I go to the number 12. So this is 10, 11, 12, and come down to the function at 12. And there goes our answer, negative 233 and 20 cents. And like we said before, you can also create a table. So we can go ahead and get this function here. I'm going to copy it here and I'm going to add a table to it. The only reason why I'm copying and pasting it over here is because I want to keep this function here and I want to turn this one into a table. All right, so here's the table and we can come down and we can type in the number 12 and it gives us the same answer, negative 233 and 20 cents for the profit. All right, let's move on to the next question. It says, using your quadratic regression, estimate the number of items that need to be sold to make a profit of negative $321. That is a quadratic system whenever they ask us to do something that way. So that means I want to know when is my profit going to be equal to negative 321. I go ahead and I graph that line, negative 321, and then I look for the intersection. Okay, so I see that there's two intersections, here and here. I got a question. Is it possible to have negative 5.9 items? No. So that means our solution is 13. The answer to that question is 13. So the way you write your answer is all right, so those are the answers to the last two questions. And then our function can be written like, we don't want to write the y, right? We just want to use the same variables that they told us to use in the problem. So negative 4.9 x squared, right, plus 334.7x plus 56.